Hey everybody, it's PartyElite, and today we're taking a look at some of the great games that were released in 2024 that you may have missed or skipped out on for some reason or another, despite likely being something you'll enjoy, especially if you're subscribed to this channel or if it's been served to you by the great algorithm gods of YouTube. As always, the focus on this channel is strategic and tactical games. That means real-time strategy, 4X, turn-based tactics, and, less traditionally, things like city building, deck building, and management or simulation titles too. If you like those kinds of games, or again, are otherwise subscribed to this channel, chances are you'll like the games I'll be putting on display in this video. If you have any gems of your own that you'd like the world to know about and try out, please don't hesitate to recommend them in the comments below. Otherwise, without further ado, with timestamps down below and in no particular order, let's begin. Slice and Dice is an absolutely charming and addictive little gem with a very simple core loop that is just so easy to get stuck in on. It was first out on mobile, but released onto Steam this year, and so naturally it plays wonderfully on the Steam Deck as well. A simple dice builder roguelite, your goal is to simply progress through a gauntlet of enemies featuring unique attack patterns, abilities, specials, etc., ranging from wolves to demons to skeletons and zombies, pulled from a set of almost 70, spread out across 20 turn-based battles per run, with each battle more difficult than the last, and the occasional boss battle against liches, giants, troll kings, dragons, and more to really change things up and keep you on your toes. On your side, you'll have 5 heroes randomly picked from a pool to start, each with their own dice and upgrade paths. The dice represent the actions available to them and the strength of each action. These can vary from attacking with their weapon, where some weapons have different effects or limitations or specific abilities tied to specific dice faces, to blocking with their shields, either defending themselves or an ally from damage, again with different limitations or effects showing themselves on different dice faces, to a variety of other actions like dodging attacks, giving you an extra reroll, curing and applying status effects, so on and so forth, or, for the least lucky among us, sometimes they're completely blank faces. Each battle is split into multiple turns, and each turn starts with all enemies and heroes rolling their dice and locking in what they've rolled, or locking some in and re-rolling others up to a limited number of times to find what they need. The enemy never re-rolls, that's just for you and your heroes. Then you assign targets for attacks, allies for defensive moves, or just otherwise decide how to play out the dice rolls that you got, using the fact that the enemy clearly telegraphs its plans to make your own. If a hero dies mid-battle, they'll come back with half health at the start of the next, and if the entire team is wiped, that's game over. And if you think lacking permadeath is a bummer, while I'd normally agree with you, here it would be way too punishing. The game is very challenging, and through that challenge, addictive. There's 128 heroes, from paladins to druids to mages and scoundrels, for you to either RNG upon or unlock through your actions and then RNG upon, and as you go from battle to battle, they'll heal back to full health and level up to give you access to more powerful tools of the trade, but sometimes asking you to give up some of their abilities that you may have fallen in love with in the interest of bringing in something new for you to adapt to. You'll also gain inventory items as you go from battle to battle, and these items, of which there are nearly 500, will modify the dice of the character to which they're assigned. Any one character can carry up to 2 items, and some of these items will modify specific dice faces by either changing what they are completely, or strengthening or weakening them, or applying an extra modifier to them, like automatically triggering them when the dice lands with that face up. You can see how the game quickly becomes about finding cool synergies and combinations between your heroes, while also trying to improve each dice face to better your chances of getting the rolls you need, all while fighting off enemies with all kinds of wild abilities. The discovery of new heroes, items, and monsters is fun in its own way, and there's just so much the game gets right. I highly recommend trying out this unique breath of fresh air. It didn't get nearly enough love when it first released. Shogun Showdown came seemingly out of nowhere and became an immediate addiction between its beautiful pixel art, its catchy tunes, and its simple gameplay mechanics that are easy to learn, but very, very hard to master. This roguelike deck builder has you playing in turn-based battles where you use simple backward and forward movement, left and right facing, and action sequencing to your advantage, or disadvantage as the case may be. The learning curve is practically non-existent. The game is very, very easy to learn, as you and your enemies take alternating turns with every decision you make, counting as a single turn, whether that's moving, changing facing, queuing up an attack using your deck of attack tiles, or actually executing said attacks. The option also exists to pass a turn if you need to in order to set things up just right. You can swap places with enemies that are right next to you, though that ability and all your attacks have cooldown timers, meaning planning when to trigger anything takes some foresight, and the complexity in the game really just comes from figuring out what to use, when, and where. There's something immensely satisfying about baiting enemy attacks, tricking them into hitting each other, or otherwise setting up a multi-hit combo that clears an entire wave out in one fell swoop. With over 40 attack tiles to acquire over time and mix and match in your deck to represent proficiency with different weapons with different pros and cons, ranging from shuriken to bow and arrow to swords and more, and 36 quests to challenge yourself with, from upgrading a tile to the maximum level 8 to setting enemies up to kill each other enough times to causing a certain amount of damage in a single turn to much more besides. There's plenty to keep you occupied if unlocking things and progression is what drives you most. Apart from all that, you've also got 36 skills to acquire over the course of any run to apply all manner of modifiers to your capabilities, potentially changing the kinds of equipment, tiles, and actions you pursue or avoid during a run or any given battle. Like most such roguelike games, you progress from node to node on an overworld map with branching paths, choosing between newly unlocked tiles or upgrades to tiles you currently hold with each successful battle, with each node consisting of multiple battles, each with multiple waves, with a final boss battle for each node to kick you around with unique abilities and a massive health bar of their own before letting you progress, or sending you back to the beginning with resources still in your pockets to kick off the new run just a little more powerful than your last. Unlock new starting characters and loadouts as you hit various milestones, venture forth with new collections of tiles and skills, and keep doing it over and over again to your heart's content in this fun little gem that snuck past many like a ninja in the shadows. Tarnished Blood is probably the game on this list that flew most under everyone's radar. I stumbled across it randomly and was intrigued by its art style before noticing its timeline mechanics and deciding that, yeah, I'll take it for a spin, and boy am I glad I did. There's a demo available to play right now if you want to just give it a test run first, but overall this game has some really unique ideas going for it that I think make it worth diving into with both feet. This dark fantasy turn-based roguelike RPG has you sending out bands of 4 warriors at a time, equipped with all manner of weapons ranging from swords to hammers to bows and arrows and more, and throwing them into battles against massive monstrosities of all kinds. You'll have some event and narrative decision-making to do during your sorties, and they can impact your upcoming battles. But the real meat and potatoes of this game that makes it stand out are these battles and the modifiers around them. When you engage in combat, you'll be able to see exactly what the enemy is going to do over the course of the following turn, where it'll move to, what attacks it'll execute, and where those attacks will land. You can then give orders to your own people to counteract said actions, dodging hits and firing off their own attacks to try and defeat the foul beast before it takes your team out. Each monster has a certain amount of health, and it's divided into multiple constituent parts that each are worth a certain amount of health and have health bars of their own. When a body part's health bar is reduced to 0, the amount of health it's worth is deducted from the total health of the monster, meaning you want to focus down on the most valuable targets to get the job done as quickly as possible, though naturally, the more valuable targets will often have bigger health bars or be otherwise harder to hit, like a tongue that can only be hit when it lashes out, for an example. As you plan your moves, you'll get very clear indicators of how much damage you're expected to do and where, and if your new trajectory during a move or jump puts you in the path of an attack that would previously have completely missed. The game also points out which weapon types are particularly strong or weak against particular parts of any particular enemy, encouraging you to strategize around these aspects if possible, and of course, the game also takes into consideration any attributes or abilities your characters may have unlocked through leveling up along the way. Injuries translate into attribute damage that can cause trouble in the narrative aspects of a run or during combat. Your characters will suffer from traumas and potentially ruin their careers through them, but success brings with it additional equipment, new weapons, new abilities, and new opportunities. Tarnished Blood has a very fun approach to combat, and I've certainly found myself fiddling with exact placement and perfect timing to just dodge an attack but also get a swing in on a particularly weakened body part in the hopes of finishing it off. I've grimaced as I'd taken a direct hit because it was the only way to get one in of my own. I've sighed a sigh of relief when a fallen hero turned out to have a life-altering injury in place of permanent death. The game has taken me by complete surprise, and I honestly can't even remember how I first came across it. You should definitely check it out. Railroute comes across as a game where you play as a humble train dispatcher, but in reality, it asks you to do so much more, and If you're a fan of planning and managing routes in city builders, maximizing their efficiency to the best of your ability, this one specializes in exactly that, stripping away anything superfluous, applying a UI that's inspired by actual train dispatch user interfaces, and becomes more of a puzzle game than a full-on simulation. You go across a multitude of regional maps provided by the game or by the community and take on the role of not just a single dispatcher, but the rail company as a whole. At least that's my take on it, as you'll be responsible not just for managing the movement of trains, but also establishing new train stations, building new lines, and acquiring and applying various track and signaling tools along the way. There isn't too much to say about this game, really. It's a very simple concept grounded in reality, and it's quite calm and relaxing in many ways without going all the way into the cozy territory. There are still moments of stress, and if your trains are constantly running late, you'll miss out on unlocks that'll help you progress, so there is a bit of pressure on the player to perform. Some of the upgrades you gain access to allow you to do more than just build or automate tracks, instead giving you more management powers as far as timetables are concerned, or giving you access to information more easily, upgrading your UI, so to speak, speeding up your work to ensure you never miss a rerouting or switch adjustment needed along the tracks. If you're a fan of optimization and solving puzzles at a grand scale, Railroute offers something in its simplicity that you won't typically find out there. Balatro is my final recommendation here, and I know what you're thinking. Party, this is a Game of the Year contender, and everybody's been talking about it everywhere. How could you possibly consider it something that people may have missed out on? I get it. But the fact of the matter is that many of you may have skipped the game because you figured you didn't really care for a poker-inspired deck builder. Maybe you didn't really get what all the fuss was about and moved on, and God knows I've seen countless folks online say a simple card game didn't deserve the Game of the Year nomination. Well, I'm here to tell folks to rethink that position and dive into Balatro with both feet. The game really needs to be played to be understood, but I'll try my best to explain. This is the purest form of deck builder with no distractions, minimal lore, if you could call it that, and no real world or setting to act as a backdrop. It's just you, the cards, and a simple set of rules that your cards can modify to your advantage. At its most basic, the game is about playing poker hands to collect points to beat a points threshold within a limited number of hands. And if you don't know your poker hands by heart, don't worry, the game has a handy reference for you at the click of a button. Each level, or ante, has 3 stages: a little blind, big blind, and boss blind, each getting slightly harder and harder, with the boss blind including some modifier that can severely impact your strategy. Defeating a boss blind ups the ante, taking you to the next level of difficulty and higher points thresholds to beat for each of those blinds. With each defeated blind, you'll collect money, and then you can use that money between blinds to unlock booster packs that either give you more cards, allow you to modify your deck, or modify the points values of the poker hands at your disposal. This is a deck builder, so picking the right booster packs and the cards within them is a key element of the game. So yeah, increase your likelihood of getting a straight flush or whatever. Or focus on unlocking jokers to start breaking the rules. Increase your score multiplier for each even number card played. Make the first card played in a hand trigger twice. Use the lowest card in your hand to multiply your multiplier, increasing your multiplier by the number of discarded booster packs you've paid for. There are a bunch of jokers, and more get unlocked as you accomplish various deeds, so there's always more to discover and tap into. But that's not all. Celestial cards will level up your poker hands to change their value. Others still will allow you to evolve your basic cards to be more powerful, and then there's the most powerful regular cards to begin with. Base cards that trigger scoring twice, cards that can change their suit to match whatever improves your played hand, cards that increase your multiplier but have a 1 in 4 chance of shattering, cards that are just a block of stone but are worth a lot of points. If it all sounds crazy, trust me, this is just the beginning. Before you know it, you're hooked. Not just because you want to beat your previous run, but because you want to see what else is out there. What other crazy cards, what other strange synergies, and what other hidden secrets exist. Balatro has about as simple a premise as it gets, and it really shows how sometimes all it takes is a slight twist on something familiar to make something that feels groundbreaking despite its apparent simplicity. Balatro is an absolute gem. It plays wonderfully on the Steam Deck too, and it will consume your free time if you let it. Actually, even if you don't let it. You should definitely check it out. Well, there you have it, folks, a handful of absolute gems that you may have either missed or decided to skip out on, and they all released in 2024 and definitely deserve your attention. If you found something you liked, don't hesitate to hit the like button and maybe share this video with your friends. The winter sale is on right now, so now is a great time to pick some games up, and if you want to see my top 5 games of the year alongside some honorable mentions, check out the video linked on screen right now. Otherwise, as always, a massive thanks goes out to all of the channel members and patrons who've been supporting the channel on a monthly basis. Y'all keep us alive and running smoothly. And of course, a big old thanks goes out to each and every one of you for watching. Until next time, cheers.